Hello Belize, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Solutions, where we don't only talk about the problems, but we focus on fixing them. So stay tuned. In this episode, we will be talking about land distribution in Belize and how we can easily fix it and empower our young people. This show is important to me because in 2009, I was almost killed by police. 2010, I ran for village council chairman. I learned the system since then, and I learned how messed up it is and how easy it can be fixed. So this is why I decided to do this show, because I wanted to become a voice in talking about fixing the problems and not only discussing the problems. And I believe that most Belizeans want to talk about how to fix the problems, and no one really is talking about the solutions or how to fix these problems. Most people are focusing on the problems. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to make sure that I become one of the voices out there that speak about how we can fix these problems, the solutions to these problems. There are so many examples right now in the world where people are fixing problems similar to ours, and we shouldn't spend much time reinventing the wheel. Belize is small, we can fix these problems overnight, but we need political will, and we need will from the people to focus and pay attention on what's going on, and also focus on who we are electing into office. So once again, young people, register, vote. This time I'm coming to you from Placencia Village, my hometown, born and raised in Placencia. In this episode, I want to talk about land distribution in Belize. I believe it's one of the most important issues affecting Belize, and it's one of the least talked about in the national media, and especially in the House of Representatives, and it seems to be a non-topic in cabinet. When I became the chairman of Placencia in 2010-2013, I saw the people of Placencia elect a village council, but the area representative, they appointed the land or lots committee it's called. And I believe that why shouldn't the people of Placencia elect a village council and a lots committee? Then I realized after the fact, after 3 years in the Placencia Village Council as the chairman, I saw where land is used to win election. It is used to control votes and voters. It is used as a bribe. There's a huge, massive effort just before village council, town council, and general elections where the government in office would come in and they would distribute lots to people in villages and all over the country, and they do that based on the fact that these people would vote them into office. So it is used as a rigging system for elections, and I believe that has created one of the greatest inequity, especially for young people, young Belizeans in this country, and it is directly linked to why Belize, especially Belize City, is having so much issues with crime, because a lot of these young men are disempowered. They do not have any power in this country, and when you're disempowered physically, materially, you become disempowered emotionally and spiritually, and hopelessness is one of the most destructive force to a human being. And this is why we see that the crime in Belize coming out of Belize City is getting more and more heinous, because these young men are caring less and less about society and their country, because they feel that their country and society do not care or want to empower them. In rural communities, one in Placencia, I want to focus a little on Placencia because I have more experience here since I grew up here. One of the main impacts is a lack of progress. There's a lot of great ideas coming out of the young people in all of these communities, but they do not have the resources to turn those ideas to materialize them into the real world. Because, just to go a little off track, one of the things that developed the United States and made the United States so powerful is land ownership and cooperation. People would be able to own land protected by the state, and they would be able to protect themselves through corporations by taking risk. So if they come up and push for a big idea, if they fail, they have some form of protection and that they don't lose everything they have, including themselves in the process. So in Belize, one of the problems is that a young person might be able to get a piece of land, such as what happened in the Crimson development, but the land was so expensive, then they had to go and borrow money from the bank to build a house or a business, and the interest rates are so high because of a lack of cheap capital. A lot of them turn around and sell the piece of land for a few, a handful of dollars, and that ended up in foreign hands. A lot of people frowned upon it, but they do not understand the economics. The government cannot simply distribute land. You have to have a proper system in place. The land has to be developed, all the infrastructure and utilities put in place. You have to have a finance center that finance just that development with very cheap capital, not to make money, to make sure that these young people or whoever are buying these properties have access to cheap capital, and also a training system, a guidance system that guides these people on how to invest that money properly, teaching them about assets and liabilities, costs, and so on and so forth. And that is what I see lacked in Belize. Basically, in Belize, you're on your own. You get a piece of land, and then you have to figure out how you're going to develop that piece of land. And if you drive up and down this country, there are real estate signs just about on every piece of property all over the country, because people do not have access to cheap capital to develop the land, so they turn around and sell it. What we have right now in Belize, because of the sale of our patrimony or land to foreigners, which is in itself not a bad thing. What we have is gentrification. A lot of these young people that grew up right in Placencia are now living in Independence. They're living in Santa Cruz, or they're moving out of Placencia because they don't own a piece of land. The rent is too high. There is no rent legislation in the country that controls the price of rent, and there is no program to build low income housing for young people, for employees. This is what made Quintana Roo, for example, boom in tourism, because in Cancun, for example, they built Cancun, the commercial area, but they also developed properly the residential area, so people that would work in the commercial area, the Mexican people, would be able to afford to live comfortably and with dignity within their working area. That is not happening in Placencia. Right now you have Amanda Berry, who is building an apartment complex in Independence Village, and she is building that as a low-income housing area for local people in Independence. They will have first preference. So that could happen here. The Placencia Village Council could easily identify a piece of land in Placencia, go to the government of Belize and say, look, we have this local project we want to do. We want to build several apartment complexes that we would subsidize and rent to the local employees so that they can have a comfortable place to live, and they're not paying $1,000, $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. They're paying $400, maybe $500, and it's subsidized because it won't be to make profit. It will be just to make enough money to cover operational expenses and maintenance. And of course, you have to do the legalities in signing leases and stuff, but it can happen easily. It can happen easily. The land exists, the Crimson development, there's still, I think, 3 phases that is undeveloped. The government can easily pump the taxes we pay from Placencia, get a portion of that and pump that back into developing the rest of the Crimson area, and fix the problem now instead of waiting until there is no money or there is no time to get it developed properly. No minister, no village council chair, no what do they call them now? Not the area representative, but the caretaker should control your vote by dangling a piece of land over your head. You are a Belizean, a born Belizean, or a naturalized Belizean. You're protected under the Constitution of Belize that you should get a piece of land free of being held, how should I say it, held a prisoner to get that piece of land. So this is why I personally believe that as you turn 18 years old, you should have access to a piece of land that has nothing to do with any government official. We have the technology exists to do an e-government system in Belize where we can easily identify every single piece of land in this country, identify how we will develop these lands in the next 50 years, allocate where we're gonna expand in this area, that area, lot those out, and people can go and say, I want to live in the Kaya district. They pull up a map, they select a land, they go through a process to apply for that land, and it shouldn't have anything to do with a minister or area representative approving that. That should have an independent, autonomous body that approves and processes such an application. This will empower, I guarantee 100%, this will empower young people in this country. You make cheap capital accessible to them, you train them about finances and how to develop that property, and I guarantee you, we can cut crime down by 80% in 5 years, one election cycle, guaranteed. That's how confident I am that land distribution, equity, fair, balanced land distribution can make a huge impact in Belize almost overnight. What I see working in Belize, and why should we reinvent the wheel? Spanish Lookout, when you become 18 years old, you get land allocated to you immediately from the community. Spanish Lookout is a corporation. It's owned by a corporate entity, and they have a board of directors or whatever they want to call it. And when you become 18 and you're a part of that community, you get land allocated to you within that community or land that corporation owns. They found out decades ago that land empowers young people. And these young people can then go to their local finance system that they have in their community, borrow cheap capital, develop their property into doing farms, or they want to do fabrication with metal, or they want to sell auto parts, or they want to sell vehicles. They get that finance and they don't have to go bankrupt trying to pay that back, because they have a system that is cheap, it's affordable, and if they run into trouble with their business, the community comes together and help. In Belize, that does not happen at all. There is no system in Belize that exists that help young people to be empowered. When you get into power, you can do two things. The first thing you can do is hold power over someone, and that is what has been happening since Independence Day in Belize. The governments and consecutive administrations have held power over the Belizean people, using land as one of the main tools to hold power over people. The second thing you can do when you get power is to empower others. Look, the PUP and the UDP are the two main political parties in this country. And I believe any single one of these political parties that relinquish that power and say, you know what, we're gonna put in a system where we empower these young people. We will put an autonomous body that will distribute land throughout this country. We'll make it transparent. We'll advertise it. Look how much they did with the ICJ education. Why can't we do that? Allocate $2, $3, $4, $5 million and go around this country and educate our young people about land distribution, about this system. Make it easy for them to apply. Make it easy for them to gain access to cheap capital. Train them on how to use money. If we can do that with ICJ, we can do that with land distribution. 18 years old, you're supposed to immediately get access to a piece of land guaranteed by the Constitution. That should be enshrined. The cabinet should pass a law with that immediately. And the reason I say this, look at all the laws cabinet is passing right now to suppress the gangs and crime in Belize City, but they're not passing laws to empower these young people from this side Yes, we have to deal with crime. Criminals are criminals and they have to face justice. But if you don't create a system that empowers the source, we will continue getting more and more and more hopeless young people that will get into crime, because that is the only empowerment they have right now. Look at Honduras, El Salvador, Jamaica, let me see, Trinidad. These countries are riddled with crime. Riddled with crime. Crime have completely overpowered these countries because they have done very little to empower their people. Look, the most important segment of our country, the demographic that is most important, are our young people, 18 to 35 years old. If you don't empower someone from they're 18 years old, the chances are they will become a burden on society. St. Lucia right now, for example, and Barbados is doing a massive housing program. They're building thousands and thousands of low-income houses for their people. Belize is so small, and this is why I have faith and hope that Belize will change for the better, because Belize is small, so we are mobile. We can make change overnight. We don't have a 17 million or 6 million population. We only have 380,000 people. Of that, about 80%, 70 to 80% are young people. We can fix this problem overnight, but this is very important. Young people, go out and get registered to vote and vote. This is the biggest problem I see in this country. Young people have become so disenchanted and jaded with the political process that they disempower themselves because they refuse to register to vote and vote. You have to participate in the political process. If you don't participate in the political process, that the same traditional politicians and traditional electors will sell a vote will continue control your future. So please go register to vote. It'll take you 10 minutes. You know, and you'll wait 2 weeks, and they will send you your card in the mail, or you can go pick it up at one of the local elections and boundaries office. You know, so that right there, I want to emphasize that if young people don't vote, they don't have a say, they're disempowering themselves. How I come up with my topics, I actually listen to the people who watch my videos. A lot of the people send me feedback through direct message, they make comments. So guys, please share the video, participate, give your feedback, keep it positive, keep it, criticize, but make it positive. And that is how I come up with my topics. I don't want to talk about just what I believe. I want to talk about what is affecting people out there. And I consider myself a structuralist, that meaning everything is connected to everything else. So all these topics are intertwined: land distribution, crime, training for young people, and so on and so forth. And the more feedback we get from you, the more topics we'll talk about. So thank you, and tune in.